This video demonstrates how to write and run Python programs in Python Anywhere, a Python programming environment that runs right in your browser. When you first log on, you're in what's called the dashboard view, and you can always get back to the dashboard view by clicking on the dashboard link here. In the dashboard, you can see that you can look at something called consoles, files, and then some other things, web, schedule, and databases. For basic programming, you're going to want to work with the consoles and the files, and we'll go through both of those in this video. Let's first go to the files link and see what that does. The files link is where you can manage the files that you own on the Python Anywhere server. Now at first you won't have any files, but as you write Python programs, you'll be saving those in files. And as you upload data sets, like say all of the data showing earthquakes in the United States, that will come down from the internet as a file, and you'll want to bring the file up here into your files on Python Anywhere so that you can take that data and work with it. So here in the File Manager we'll have both Python programs and Python data files. So let's create our first Python program. To do that, we're going to create a file with the Python code. Now you'll be learning the Python code in other parts of this course, but we'll just type in some simple Python code to get started with. So let's call our program hello, and you want to name it with a .py extension to tell the computer system that it's a Python program. So I'm creating a file called hello.py, and it's going to be added here to all the other files I already have up in the Python Anywhere environment. So I type in hello.py and I hit new. And it creates a new file and puts me into a very simple editor where I can start typing in Python code. So now that I'm in the editor, I can start to type Python code. So the first thing I'm going to do is a simple print hello world, a classic kind of first computer program. Note that the word print is kind of bold and blue here. That's the editor saying that's a recognized Python keyword. And that can be very helpful to you to make sure that you're typing the right Python keywords in. Because if it's not this kind of blue, then it's not being recognized as a Python keyword, and maybe you spelled it wrong or something like that. Now this is a very simple Python program that just is going to print out hello world to the screen. So it's a complete program, a very simple one, and now we're ready to run it. And notice down here it says run this file. You could use that. The problem is there are what are called different versions of Python. Python 2.7, Python 3.4, different versions of Python. And if you click the run this file, it's going to run the newest version of Python. And your instructor might have told you to run a different version of Python, like an earlier version, because you may have learned how to program in that earlier version by following a book or a tutorial that used kind of an earlier Python version. So in general, unless your instructor tells you to use this run this file, it's probably best not to run the file that way, and I'll show you another way. Before I show you how to run the file, first we have to save it. So we go up here and click on the save link. That writes the file out to that file list that we saw before in our file manager up here on the server. And we have to do this every time we make a change to the file. So I've saved the file. Now to run the file, I go up here to my dashboard and click on dashboard, and it takes me back to that first dashboard we saw when we logged in. Now up here are Python interpreters, which you could use. They run Python's programs one line at a time, but we prefer to run our Python programs as a whole file of lines that we typed in. It's a much better way to program. To do that, then, we're going to use the bash script, which is right here. So we'll click on bash, and it brings up this dark window. This dark window is really a window on a server running on the Python Anywhere servers. And those could be located anywhere in the world, and you're accessing the server through your web browser. Now what you're seeing here is called a prompt. It's expecting you to type in a Linux command because these are Linux servers. Linux is an operating system like Windows or Mac OS, and it's used primarily on servers. And it has this kind of view where you can type commands in. Now there's a whole bunch of different Linux commands that you can learn, but we're going to show you the ones that you just need on this course to run Python. Now when we type in Python and the name of the program we want to run, which is the hello.py file that we created a few minutes ago. Now when we run Python, it's going to run whatever version of Python is installed. Now currently, at the time of this video, Python Anywhere is running Python 2.7. It has other versions of Python installed, and if your instructor needs you to run a different version because you're learning a different version in your course, you might type something a little different here, and your instructor will tell you. But here, at the time of this video, to run Python 2.7, I simply have to type Python and the name of the file I created, and it'll run the file for me. So let's see what happens. I'll go ahead and hit enter so this command goes in. And when I hit enter, you see it says hello world. And you can actually see the time prompt changed here a little bit. This is the local time on their server. So hello world was printed out on the screen. A very simple little program that wrote out hello world. As you learn to program, you'll learn to take in data into your program, work with the data, make nice graphs, make nice text files, things that show up nicely on the screen. But for this, simply getting it to say hello world is kind of cool. And I've written and run a Python program. So cool, I got the Python program to run. Now let's say I want to make a change to it. So I'll go back here to my dashboard. And for my dashboard, I'll go to my files. And in my files, I'll find my little hello.py program that I wrote, and I'll click on that. Because we saved it, here's the code we had before. So let me make some changes to it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have it ask for my name. And I'm going to save this in a variable. And then I'm going to have it, instead of saying hello world, I'm going to have it print out my name. So a simple change. Save it. Go back to my dashboard. You can see that your console is still running here. So instead of having to start a new bash console, I can just click on my running bash console. It'll bring it back up. And it'll show me what it had run before. It'll show me that I ran hello world, and we'll see the output for it before. Here it is. So now I can rerun the newly saved one, which should ask for my name. First I have to run the whole thing again. So again, it's Python hello.py to run the program. It asks what's my name. I put in my name, and it says hello Vic. So it read in my name and remembered it, and it printed that out on the line. A nice little change to our Python program. And what you can see there is that you can build your programs up as you go. You can write a little code and see if it works. I got hello world to work. Then I added a little code to make it ask for my name and say hello to me. And you can build your programs up this way, and it's a good idea to do that, to build them up a little at a time in case something goes wrong. You'll know where it goes wrong. Now speaking of going wrong, let's go back and look at one more feature that this Python Anywhere environment gives you. So going back to edit my file, so again I go back to the dashboard up here. I go back to my files up here. I click on my program, hello.py, and you can see here that, again, it's highlighting the print as something it knows in Python. But what if I put some kind of a typo? I put, print x here. Now, print x isn't a valid Python command, and you can see that it changed color here. In fact, when I go and save the file, it puts a little X up here indicating that I had something wrong in what I typed. And if I hover over it, it just says syntax error. Sometimes it'll actually give you a more descriptive indication of what your error is, but it's telling you there's something wrong here on line 2. And this is part of what's called debugging. You'll have to go back and look at the code and see what you typed wrong. Oh yes, and here I see that the print x is wrong. So if I take the x out, it goes back to being blue. If I save it, the x right here goes away as being something wrong. And then I can then go back and run the file by going to my bash interpreter and running it. Now as you go through the course, you'll be writing more extensive programs. Here's one I wrote that has, if you scroll down, it's about 43 lines of Python code, which is stuff that you'll be doing in this class. Going back to my file manager, which I can just do by using the back arrow in my browser, here's another file, data.text.csv. This is a data file of raw data, and you can see what it is. It's year, country, sex, display value, and numeric. And it's showing data obtained about childhood diseases. And it's showing it in something called CSV, or comma separated value format. So you can see it's got a year, it's got a country, it's got an indication of whether it's boys or girls, and it's got some numbers that indicate something about the spread of disease. And it's very typical to get CSV files from the internet with all kinds of data in it. This is a simple one with 10 data items, but it's not uncommon to see CSV files that you download from data sources on the internet with thousands, if not tens of thousands, of lines of data. And those data files can be downloaded from the internet and uploaded here to Python Anywhere, like I did with this data.text.csv file. And once it's here, your Python code can go in and work with this data to do some really neat kind of analysis, plot graphs, and work with the data in ways that allow you to analyze it and come up with some pretty neat stuff coming from the data. So this concludes our introduction on how to use Python Anywhere. It showed you how to use the Files link to create your files, and once they're created, you can click on them to edit them. You save them, and they're all here available to you in your file list in Python Anywhere. It also showed you how to use consoles, like the Bash console, to run your Python programs and see their output. And the beautiful thing is that Python Anywhere runs right in your browser, so you can access it from any computer, any pad, any device that you're on that has a browser can get to Python Anywhere, so you can get to your Python programs, work on them, run them, and have fun programming in Python.